You have probably been told that delaying Social Security until age 70 is the ultimate financial no-brainer. If you log onto the internet today and ask when you should claim your benefits, you will get two extremely loud, contradictory answers. Half the financial world will scream at you to wait until age 70 because you get a guaranteed 8% return for delaying. The other half will tell you to take it at 62, the exact second you can, because the system is going completely bankrupt and you need to grab what is yours before the money runs out. Neither of these approaches actually works in reality. I have noticed that most conventional advice treats Social Security like it exists in a total vacuum. It completely ignores the taxes you will pay, the health of your spouse, and the silent damage done to your private portfolio while you wait. We are going to dismantle the one-size-fits-all advice using opportunity costs, tax algorithms, and actuarial math. Getting this wrong does not just mean leaving a few dollars on the table, it means permanently draining your life savings. Imagine you have a bucket of water that needs to last a decade. Conventional wisdom tells you to just wait for rain, ignoring the giant hole in the bottom of your bucket. That is what happens when we ignore the hidden costs of delaying. In this breakdown, I am answering a direct viewer request by running the exact scenarios on why the standard break-even math your advisor shows you is usually wildly inaccurate. Before we dive into the actual spreadsheet logic, this is a great time to hit the subscribe button. My goal here is to give you the highest possible return on the time you invest watching these videos, breaking down complex financial algorithms into plain English. Now, let us quickly put the bankruptcy panic to rest. The media loves to drive clicks by claiming Social Security is zeroing out. The reality is far less dramatic. The trust fund is projected to deplete its reserves right around 2033. But even if Congress does absolutely nothing, the ongoing tax revenues will still cover roughly 80% of promised benefits. It is a haircut, not a sudden zero balance. So, taking your benefits at 62, purely out of fear that the system is going to disappear overnight, is an emotional reaction, not a mathematical strategy. If you are an optimizer, making permanent financial decisions based on fear is the fastest way to wreck a retirement plan. We need to look at this purely as an arbitrage opportunity. Instead of panicking over solvency, we need to focus on what we can control, which is how our claiming age interacts with the rest of our assets. Think of Social Security not as a standalone paycheck, but as one gear in a much larger machine. If you turn this gear at the wrong time, it grinds the rest of your portfolio down to dust. If you think the current tax rates are rough, wait until you see what happens to your taxable income at age 70. But we will get to the tax torpedo in a minute. First, we need to fix a massive leak in how people calculate their baseline timeline. This is the opportunity cost trap. Let us take a hypothetical retiree entitled to $2,000 a month at age 62, or a larger $3,520 a month if they delay until age 70. What most financial advisors show you is the simple break-even. They say, if you take it at 62, by the time you reach 70, you have collected over $190,000. If you wait until 70, you get an extra $1,500 a month. So, they divide the money you missed by the extra monthly cash, and tell you that your break-even age is about 80.5 years old. Since life expectancy for a 62-year-old often stretches into the mid-80s, the advisor smiles and says it is a mathematical certainty that you should wait. This logic is completely flawed. It assumes you just stop eating, driving, and paying property taxes between 62 and 70. You still have to fund your lifestyle somehow, and that money has to come directly out of your own pockets. Here is the brutal math of the real opportunity cost break-even. If you delay your benefits until age 70, you have to pay for your life for those 8 years. This means you must withdraw an extra $24,000 a year from your own private portfolio to replace the Social Security check you decided to delay. However, if you take Social Security at 62, you leave that $24,000 safely invested in your portfolio. Let us assume a very conservative 5.5% real return after inflation. Over those 8 years, that preserved capital sitting in your accounts grows to approximately $236,000. Now, the math changes completely. The gap you have to cover is no longer $190,000. It is $236,000 divided by that extra $1,500 a month. Your real break-even age pushes past 83, often landing around 85 or older, depending on market yields. And here is the fact that most people ignore. If your private portfolio out-earns that conservative 5.5% real return, the break-even age easily pushes into your late 80s. You are essentially liquidating high-performing assets to buy a slightly larger, inflexible annuity check from the government. Why do so many incredibly intelligent people fail to see this optimization? It comes down to cognitive dissonance between yield and an annuity payout. Humans are notoriously bad at distinguishing between an increase in cash flow and an actual return on investment. Society broadly conflates the 8% annual step-up in Social Security benefits with an 8% compound annual growth rate on a portfolio. They are mathematically entirely different things. If you have $1 million in a brokerage account and it yields 8%, you get $80,000 in cash, and you still have the core $1 million to pass down to your kids. With Social Security, the principal vanishes the absolute second you die. That 8% delay credit is not an asset yielding interest. It is simply an insurance policy against outliving your money. Some people suffer from the bird in the hand fallacy, taking the check at 62 just because they want to hold the cash. Others suffer from regret aversion, terrified they will leave money on the table if they wait and then pass away at 71. The truth requires total mathematical detachment from both of those emotions. We have to stop viewing the government as a high-yield savings account. Do not try to guess your way through this. You need to execute what I call the Social Security arbitrage matrix. Step 1 is the actuarial and health gate. You have to objectively assess your biological reality before you look at a single spreadsheet. If you have chronic health conditions or a family medical history that realistically caps your life expectancy anywhere below age 80, you need to file at 62. The math heavily favors early claiming if you do not confidently breach age 82. There is no medal for delaying benefits if you never live to enjoy the crossover point. Too often, people let their ego or their financial planner generalized software dictate a timeline that their own biology simply cannot support. You have to be brutally honest with yourself about your health span versus your lifespan. If your health dictates a shorter horizon, taking the money early allows you to preserve your liquid portfolio for your heirs, rather than watching your hard-earned government benefits evaporate upon your passing. Remember, the system is designed to be actuarially neutral for the average person. It is a giant casino where the house expects to break even. You only win by knowing exactly where your personal data deviates from the average. Most people stop their calculations right here, completely satisfied with the simple break-even math, and they end up losing $50,000 to the IRS. If you think the standard opportunity cost is bad, wait until you see the tax torpedo that hits you in your 70s. Social Security taxation is based on something called provisional income. This is your adjusted gross income plus any non-taxable interest, plus 50% of your Social Security benefit. If your provisional income lands above $34,000 for a single filer, or $44,000 for a married couple, up to 85% of your Social Security benefit becomes taxable. Here is the trap that nobody talks about. These thresholds were set into law back in 1993, and unlike almost every other tax bracket in the code, they are not indexed for inflation. They have been frozen in time for over 30 years. Because of natural inflation and wage growth over 3 decades, almost everyone with a pulse and a modest retirement account is going to smash right through that 85% tax threshold. It is a hidden tax hike built directly into the system by deliberate legislative neglect. The money you thought was safe is heavily exposed. The mathematics of this tax torpedo are about to get significantly more aggressive. In 2026, the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act expires. We are going to see the current 12% tax bracket revert back to 15%, and the 22% bracket jump back to 25%. Tax efficiency is no longer just a nice bonus for your retirement, it is the absolute critical variable. If you delay taking your Social Security until age 70, you drastically increase the size of your monthly payout. That sounds great on paper, but right around the exact same time, you are forced to start taking required minimum distributions from your traditional pre-tax retirement accounts. The forced collision of your maxed out age 70 Social Security benefits and your federally mandated IRA withdrawals creates a massive, completely unrecoverable marginal tax spike right in the middle of your 70s. You waited 8 years to get a bigger check, only to hand a massive percentage of that premium directly back to the federal government in the form of elevated income taxes. You essentially trigger a perfect storm where your benefits maximize exactly when your forced taxable income peaks. People look at the benefit amount in total isolation without realizing they are pulling the pin on a tax grenade. Why is this single variable fallacy so common? Because building a dynamic, multi-decade tax model is hard, and simple rules of thumb are easy to sell. We operate under the delusion that our tax bracket in retirement will automatically be lower than our working years. But when you combine forced required minimum distributions, inflated Social Security checks, and expiring tax cuts, many retirees find themselves paying marginal rates that rival their peak earning years. This psychological blind spot forces retirees to make emotional, reactive decisions once the tax bills start arriving. They panic and try to adjust their spending downward to stay in lower brackets, effectively punishing themselves for saving too much in pre-tax accounts. The psychology of the annuity mirage makes us hyper-focus on getting the biggest possible monthly direct deposit from the government, totally ignoring the net after-tax reality of that deposit. When you understand that a massive chunk of that delayed credit is just going to funnel straight into the IRS coffers, the allure of the 8% delay bonus fades very quickly. We have been conditioned to chase top-line revenue, but in retirement, tax-adjusted cash flow is the only metric that actually keeps the lights on. This brings us to the exact protocol to neutralize the tax torpedo, utilizing the Roth conversion bridge. You need to use the delay years between 62 and 70 to artificially manipulate your tax brackets. By delaying Social Security to 70, you keep your provisional income effectively at zero for 8 years. During this window, you aggressively execute Roth conversions from your traditional accounts. You intentionally fill up the lower tax brackets with converted funds, paying taxes now at lower rates. By the time you turn 70 and claim your maximum Social Security, you will have drained the pre-tax accounts that cause forced distributions, neutralizing the tax torpedo entirely. Knowing the math and actually modeling it are two different things. This is exactly why I built Cash Class, the official Tom Talks Money web application. It is the bridge between learning these concepts and securely applying them to your life. Cash Class is entirely privacy first. There are no bank logins required. You just securely upload your CSV statements, and the platform helps you visualize your cash flow. We even include a free Budgeting 101 course to get you started. You can click the link at the very top of the description right now to start your 14-day free trial on the web. It is the ultimate tool for the serious optimizer. We will get to the exact portfolio strategy for surviving a market crash in a minute, but first we need to address a counterintuitive flip. This is where conventional wisdom screams at you to save your Social Security for later, but the math tells you to spend it right now. Taking Social Security is actually a game-theoretic hedge against sequence of returns risk. The most dangerous financial window of a human life is the 5 years immediately before and the 5 years immediately after retirement. If you retire at 62 and the stock market drops 25%, delaying your Social Security forces you to sell your private portfolio assets at a deep discount just to fund your grocery bills. Selling down an equities portfolio during a bear market permanently destroys its compounding capacity. The shares you sell at the bottom can never participate in the eventual recovery. The math shows that taking your benefits early can actually be the exact mechanism that saves your private wealth from total collapse. It flips the entire narrative upside down. Taking the government money early becomes a highly strategic defensive maneuver designed to protect your most valuable compounding assets when they are most vulnerable. Let us run the math on the portfolio shock absorber strategy. Think of Social Security as a macroeconomic toggle switch. If you turn 62 during a raging bull market where equities are highly overvalued, you should delay your benefits. You can safely sell your overvalued equities to fund your life, harvesting those massive gains while letting your Social Security credits grow. But if you turn 62 during a severe recession, you flip the toggle switch. You file for Social Security immediately. This provides instant baseline cash flow, acting as a shock absorber for your finances. This allows you to leave your beaten-down portfolio alone, giving your investments the critical time they need to recover. Taking Social Security at 62 during a market crash is exactly like using your car's spare tire. It is not necessarily meant to be driven on forever at top speed, but it absolutely prevents you from grinding your portfolio rims down to the axles when the economic road gets rough. You are using the rigidity of a government payout to offset the volatility of the stock market, preventing a permanent loss by using social flow to avoid selling at the absolute bottom. Despite the mathematical brilliance of the shock absorber strategy, there is an invisible risk that terrifies optimizers. It is the psychology of the spousal penalty, also known as the loyalty tax. When we look at a married couple, the dynamic changes entirely. When one spouse passes away, the surviving spouse keeps the larger of the two Social Security checks, and the smaller check disappears completely. If the primary high earner decides to take their benefits early at 62 just to get the cash, and then unexpectedly passes away at age 75, they have permanently condemned their surviving spouse to a severely reduced income for the rest of their natural life. It is an incredibly selfish mathematical move masked as a logical one. You are trading a few years of moderate convenience for your partner long-term financial security. This loyalty tax forces us to look beyond our own life expectancy and model the financial stability of the person we leave behind. The higher earner delaying to 70 is not about maximizing their own personal return on investment. It is about building an unsinkable lifeboat for their spouse. When the inevitable happens, the surviving spouse gets to keep the biggest boat. To solve the loyalty tax, we execute the spousal hedge, which is commonly referred to as the split strategy. In a marriage with disparate incomes, you must optimize for the survivor. The protocol here is simple but highly effective. The lower earning spouse files for benefits early, usually right at 62. This brings immediate, stabilizing cash flow into the household, which allows the couple's broader private portfolio to continue compounding untouched. Meanwhile, the higher earning spouse delays their filing until age 70. This maximizes the delayed retirement credits on the largest possible baseline number. If the higher earner passes away later in retirement, the surviving spouse inherits this absolutely maxed out age 70 benefit. It acts as a supreme, inflation-adjusted life insurance policy that never expires. You get the best of both worlds, capturing early cash while mathematically securing the long-tail risk of outliving your wealth. If you want to dive deeper into custom strategies like this, I highly recommend hitting the join button below the video. Becoming one of the optimizers through our channel membership gives you priority comment replies and custom sketch badges next to your name, allowing us to interact on a much deeper level. Ultimately, optimizing your claim strategy requires stepping back from the isolated numbers and viewing your entire net worth as one living ecosystem. Thinking an 8% delay credit is the same as an 8% market return is like confusing your salary with your house equity. One stops the second your heart stops beating, while the other can be passed down to your children to change their financial future. The simple break-even age of 80 is a myth designed for people who do not know how to run a real opportunity cost calculation. When you factor in the money your portfolio could have made, that real break-even pushes to 85 or older. When you layer on the 1993 tax freeze and the reality of provisional income, taking the money early often looks far more attractive. But the exact opposite is true when you factor in a surviving spouse, where delaying the primary earner benefit becomes the ultimate act of financial loyalty. There is no one-size-fits-all answer. There is only the math, your biological health, and the specific family legacy you want to leave behind. Now it is time for peer review. I want to turn the comment section into a data gathering experiment. Let me know down below exactly what age you are planning to claim your benefits, and more importantly, what specific mathematical or personal factor drove that decision. Are you optimizing for the Roth conversion bridge? Are you employing the split strategy for your spouse? Or are you just grabbing the cash at 62 to mitigate market risk? Drop your reasoning in the comments so the rest of the community can see real-world logic in action. Sharing your strategy helps others realize they are not alone in navigating this incredibly dense topic. Do not forget to check out the Cash Class web app via the link in the description to start running your own numbers securely today. The more transparent we are with our decision-making process, the better equipped we all become to handle whatever tax cliffs or market crashes come our way. Keep optimizing, keep looking past the surface level advice, and I will see you in the next breakdown.